the British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
A warm welcome to Blyton Park in Lincolnshire for round 4 of the 2013 British Superlite Championship. Plenty of action coming your way for the next hour as we take a look at 650 Superlite Race 1. Jake Swan's the fastest man in qualifying and sets himself up on pole position on the front row with Paul Hudson and Tony Turner. On row 2 is Anthony Jackson with Phil Redfern and Gordon Knox. On row 3 is Danny Kerwood with Tim Page and Wayne Stockbridge. And on row 4 is Michael Bradbury and Joe Walton. So alongside me in commentary once again is Luke Jameson.
Dave Dearden, the race director, points the drivers to the starting lights. They get away and it looks like a great start for Jake Swan. Time to look at his mirrors. Also Tony Turner in second place, just looking in his mirrors to see that Anthony Jackson in the number 41 machine has got himself into third place, and I think possibly Danny Kerwood has pinched a place from Phil Redfern. He is there in the camouflage livery, and Phil Redfern in fifth. So a great start from Jake Swan there, and he manages to get out front, but it looked a little bit tight going into the dirt section there, Chris. Yeah,
Tim Page putting it all sorts of sideways, but Jake Swan gets away. What I did notice is Paul Hudson should have been starting on the front row as per the graphic that we just showed, and actually started at the back of the grid and didn't seem to get away that quickly either. So problems, I suspect, for number 4 Paul Hudson, who perhaps should be giving Jake Swan and Tony Turner, to be fair, a little bit more of a challenge. But at the moment we're looking at number 41 Anthony Jackson there, giving chase to Tony Turner for third place. There is Danny Kerwood then on the number 7 Superlite.
Yeah, Danny Kerwood got some problems there, and he's moved a little bit further down the grid now, and that man in front of him is number 47, and that's Gordon Knox. But that man in the number 41 machine just picking up a cone there behind Tony Turner. He's being chased down by number 50 Phil Redfern, and Phil running very wide onto the start-finish straight there, Chris, but definitely carrying plenty of pace.
It's a beautiful day for a cone. I hope he got a flake with it, but Tony Turner there in second place. Well, at the moment, just trying to gain a little bit of a gap over Anthony Jackson in third, but he's actually closing the gap. And this is the bit as Tony Turner is having a big look in his wing mirror to see Anthony Jackson having a look up the inside, pulling it tight, trying to get the power down. But what an incredible slide. Beautiful throttle and steering control, to be fair, from Tony Turner there to slide his way from the tarmac onto the dirt section, taking on that ski slope. And the man from York is looking pretty comfortable in second place, it has to be said, Luke.
Yeah, fair play to Tony Turner. We'll see as he comes through the dirt section now, as you just say, he's really good at balancing the car on the throttle and steering input. He just does those rally cross and rally style slides, the power slide, and he keeps it all very organised. That looks like Paul Hudson, number 4, just coming up to be lapped by these guys. So Paul definitely got a problem running slow, actually pulling off into the pits there, Chris. So you were right to point out that Paul had some sort of problem that kept him off the front of the grid, and unfortunately for him, no points in race number 1 after qualifying so well.
Yeah, sadly I can't tell you what that issue is at the moment. Maybe we will find out, but Jake Swan, of course, already passed him by the time we saw Tony Turner in second place making his way past. So as you say, Luke, you know, Jake cleared off into the distance, and yeah, it looks like he's running away with this and really putting one hand on that championship trophy for the end of the year, because, you know, 4 rounds in, he's really back some points now.
Well, he has, but it has to be said that in the last round at Finmere, Jake Swan, there he is, as we see him doing what he's been accustomed to doing in the first couple of rounds this year, looking really good and really on the pace, but he had an absolute nightmare, no fun whatsoever for Jake Swan at Finmere, and he had that coming together in race 2 that put him out of the race, and then started from the back of the grid in race 3. So he's got to make up those points that maybe he lost in round 3 at Finmere, and this is the place to do it because there's a lot of tarmac at this circuit.
Well, going up the inside, Jake Swan then passing the back marker, Michael Bradbury in the number 100 Superlite, I think making his debut today in this round 4 of the British Championship. But great to see new drivers always taking part. If you want any more information, of course, have a look at the Norris Sport website or the Drackout website, of course, and try and find some information, because it's quite easy to get signed up and have a go at this Superlight racing. Great fun as well. I had a go myself at Cadwell Park, and at the moment Jake Swan's just showing how much fun it is in the 650 class out in front.
You just reminded me of something that made me want to sulk, because I didn't get to have a go at Cadwell Park. But there, the man in the number 21 machine, Wayne Stockbridge, is definitely having a go. And Danny Kerwood has run unfeasibly wide there, and maybe even retiring. But that man is the leader of this race. Jake Swan out front at the moment, and Jake definitely having lots of fun on the dry stuff. That man, Phil Redfern, bit of an old hand at this. Apologies for the use of the word old there, Phil, but I meant in terms of him being very experienced. And that man there in the 84 machine is definitely coming under the sort of attention he'd probably rather not have. Last lap flag is out, and this is going to be a battle to the finish, because they've also got to deal with a back marker. But out front, Jake Swan still doing the business, Chris, with just about a lap to go.
Yeah, and of course it's always that difficult part where, perhaps, I'm not quite sure of his racing experience, but a back marker could well get in the way and hinder Tony Turner, who looked like he was having a fiery battle and concentrating more on what was going on behind him. I said it before, actually, that Tony, but, often concerned about who's driving behind him and putting himself under pressure. But out in front with half a lap, or just under half a lap to go, Jake Swan looks set fair to take the checkered flag here.
So Jake Swan coming up towards the line to take the checkered flag and the race win in the first race of the day in the 650 Superlites.
Yeah, great race win for Jake Swan then in the 650 class. And 35 points in his pocket. Let's take a look at the official results then. Jake Swan going away with 35. Tony Turner going away with second place and 32 points ahead of Anthony Jackson, who goes away with 30 for his third place. And Phil Redfern, Tim Page, Gordon Knox, Wayne Stockbridge, Michael Bradbury, Danny Kerwood and Paul Hudson, the contingent, completing the lineup of the top 10 for 650 Superlight race number 1. So without any further ado, let's get straight on with the action for race 1 of the open class and take a look at the lineup for this. Duncan Macbeth is the fastest man in qualifying and starts in pole position for Open Superlight race number 1. Then James Addy alongside him with Phil Lee on the front row. On row 2 is Mark Richardson with Jonathan Bennett and Danny Whitney on the outside of row number 2. On row 3 is Simon Nutter with James Stevens and Alan Henley. And on row 4 is Charlie Wellborn, completing the lineup then for Open Superlight race number 1.
So the drivers on the grid for the first Open Superlight race of the day. Race director Dave Dearden pointing the guys to those lights as they go out. The guys get off the start, and a bit of a problem there. I think Phil Lee just getting across the front of James Addy there, but James going up over the back of the wheels there, and that was a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and Jonathan Bennett on the inside getting hustled there, I think with Duncan Macbeth, who we briefly rode on board with. So Phil Lee's out in front, and Duncan Macbeth actually in second place. So Phil Lee got a place up from the starting position there, making full use of being on the front row. And great start there for Phil Lee. Duncan Macbeth in second place. Jonathan Bennett up into third, past James Addy then. So
James Addy seemed to run a little bit wider. Jonathan Bennett just didn't sort of look at the gift horse in the mouth, as it were, when opportunity knocks. He just sneaks straight through. So James Addy drops down to fourth place with Mark Richardson in fifth in that yellow Superlight behind him. And I think that's number 72, Jonathan Bennett, having done brilliantly and got himself into third place. He's just totally spun it in the dirt section there as he got on the gas too much.
Well, I was just about to say Jonathan Bennett doing so well, because he started in fifth and really worked his way through there, and has created all sorts of chaos there with number 52 James Stevens and number 46 Alan Henley being held up as well.
So those guys got stuck in a car park that was of the creation of number 72, Jonathan Bennett. Fortunately for James Addy, it looked like he was able to sneak through. And there he is in fourth place, I think. Also, Danny Whitney sneaked through there as well. So those two locked in battle now, and I dare say this one will be interesting for the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Mark Richardson ahead now. Addy goes around the outside. Can he get the power down? He completely overslides it. Massive oversteer there for him, and allows Danny Whitney surely to get away now. There is number 74. That's Charlie Wellborn. And really having a bit of a race of his own, but I think he actually got blocked in the tail end of that manoeuvre from number 72, Jonathan Bennett there.
Yeah, Jonathan Bennett had that problem, and a couple of the guys got stuck behind, but it's difficult to know who managed to sneak through. Probably some of the guys who were a bit further back. As you were saying, Charlie Wellborn may have been far enough back to actually manage to avoid it, but the guys immediately behind him, James Addy snuck round immediately. The other two guys just looked to have got caught up in Jonathan's accident, but at the moment 56, that's Danny Whitney being chased down by that man 698 James Addy, and you can see James Addy just looking for the turning point. Number 72, that's the man we were talking about, Jonathan Bennett. He's recovered now, and he's definitely got some pace in this race, Chris, but just overcooked it a little bit, and he went a little bit wide there onto the dusty stuff.
Yeah, a bit of a bumpy ride for him, that, as he's getting the power down there. But to be fair, Jonathan's driving really well today. I mean, barring the mistake he made on the dirt section, I think he may have learnt from that pretty quickly, but it's so difficult because there's a little bit of a blue groove emerging just around that bit of the track now, but it's also still very dusty. Perhaps we'll get some water on it in a bit, which will add a little bit of grip to it, or actually it could go the other way. It could maybe make it a little bit of clay in the base there, turn that into a little bit more sludge, and then they'll just find massive understeer.
Yeah, it could be a very tricky decision to decide whether to put some water on to keep the dust down, because as you say, Chris, rightly, you could suddenly end up with some very, very icy conditions, because the clay-based dirt has been really baked by the sun and the wind, and it looks like James Addy's managing to dive up the inside of Danny Whitney. Does he make it stick? No, Danny Whitney holds on.
Yes,
then he runs wide. I think Addy's got it through. Yes, he has. James Addy threads the needle and takes fourth place actually. Mark Richardson, I apologise, you're in third place at the moment. Big look in the rear mirror for James Addy. Loads of understeer as Danny Whitney managed to get back at him. No, Addy holds on at the moment, but as I said, Chris, these two are going to be locked in battle for a couple of laps to come, no doubt.
Yeah, I think he needs that warning on his mirror. Objects in the mirror may actually be closer than they appear, and that's Danny Whitney right behind him giving chase here, and it'd be interesting to see actually whether Danny can come back at Addy. Addy, quite a fierce driver. Of course, this year just made the transition over from Supermoto bike racing into the Superlite Championship through injury, but actually, does a lot of karting and spends quite a bit of time in the winter, I think, out in Tenerife as well at a kart circuit where he does quite a bit of driving too, from what I gather. So, really taking on the challenge of competing in this British Superlite Championship, and to be fair, doing pretty well at it.
Yeah, number 72, Jonathan Bennett, also just trying to get to grips, find that level of grip. He's in the blue groove at the moment, coming through the dirt section, back onto the tarmac stuff. But he's just had a couple of problems as he's gone through this tarmac section. It's a little bit twisty into a right-hander, then a tight left-hander, and he's just got to get the entry into this straight right so he can really carry the speed through without running wide. A little bit better that time, didn't get onto the dirt, but that man, as you were just talking about, Chris, 698 James Addy, done quite a bit of karting, and he's been pretty much on the pace since he got into one of these karts and been quick. There is the last lap flag for Duncan Macbeth. Addy was second in, I think, the second round in terms of qualifying behind Duncan. That was James's first round in the Superlights, having had those problems with his wrists when he tried to do Supermoto in the first round of this year's championship. But dare say that James Addy could go from strength to strength over the season and maybe chase down this man, 150 Duncan Macbeth.
Yeah, and look at the gap that Duncan Macbeth got over Phil Lee now, to say Phil Lee was ahead before, and a quick hand up there from Phil Lee. I'm not sure if he was waving or frustration.
I think he was waving to say how good was my power slide around that corner, then. Nice. He was giving himself 5 out of 5.
I reckon, but maybe high fives, but no one can get near him at the moment, so... but yeah, we're riding on board with that rear view facing from Duncan Macbeth, and just interesting to see the gap there. There is Phil Lee there, and Mark Richardson, of course, in third place. Mark's having a good season, and good to see him with a result like this too. Jonathan Bennett still plugging away there as we're picking up the action for 46, Alan Henley. He's a back marker, I do believe. There's 150, Duncan Macbeth taking the checkered flag then for Open Superlights race number 1. Fantastic win then for him, and more points yet on his championship tally. So 35 points go to the Open Superlight race 1 winner Duncan Macbeth, ahead of Phil Lee in second place and Mark Richardson in third. Then James Addy, Danny Whitney, Charlie Wellborn, Jonathan Bennett, James Stevens and Alan Henley are the 9 drivers competing in Open Superlight race number 1. So plenty of action already at this Blyton Park circuit in Lincolnshire. So far today we've seen some great wins already in the first 2 races. One, of course, from Duncan Macbeth in the Open class, and not forget, of course, a great win from Jake Swan in the 650 class. Let's see how he gets on after the break. Join us in a few.
British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Blyton as we move on to 650 Superlight race number 2. Jake Swan, the man with his second pole position of the day, starts on the front row with Tony Turner and Anthony Jackson. Phil Redfern goes off the inside of row 2 with Tim Page and Gordon Knox. Wayne Stockbridge goes off the inside of row 3 with Michael Bradbury and Danny Kerwood. And on row 4 is Paul Hudson, subject to mechanical gremlins, enabling him to get out on circuit for this one.
There's Jake Swan then, second pole position for Jake of the day, and that's the number 41 machine of Anthony Jackson on the grid there. Dave Durden points the guys at the lights go out and away they go, and it's another...
and more problems for Paul Hudson at the back there, and a great onboard shot then from Jake Swan with Tony Turner right up his exhaust there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Paul Hudson maybe got a problem with his clutch assembly, and that's why it's not getting him off the line. And in the end, in race number 1, he had to pull into the pit. So it'll be interesting to see whether he keeps going. Jake Swan is out front. Business as usual for Jake. Great start in race number 1 and another great start in race number 2. Tony Turner in second place at the moment. Tim Page, I think, in third. And we'll just see the way this pans out. But it's a fantastic low onboard shot from Jake Swan's 110 machine there, and you can see the man in second place there, Tony Turner, in the number 84 machine, trying to chase him down, getting very sideways as he enters the dirt section. There's Danny Kerwood in the number 7 camouflage livery machine, being chased down by, I think, number 47 there, and number 21, Wayne Stockbridge, just having a bit of an excursion off track and managing to avoid the cones, Chris.
Yeah, doing very well to dodge those. There's a real battle on here between these two. And moving out of the slipstream, up the inside goes...
Gordon Knox there, managing to get the pass, Chris, and that's the 100 machine of Michael Bradbury. He's another one having an excursion off circuit.
Yeah, maybe just outbraked himself a little bit. Very easy to do, and certainly not the first person to have ever done that on that last corner there in the run-up to the finish line. Now going very, very deep. Goes
Gordon Knox again,
Gordon
just
Knox.
getting a big problem with the brakes, and he's been passed by Danny Kerwood. So that fantastic pass down the start finish straight from Gordon Knox, and then he's got it all wrong going into the dirt section, and Danny Kerwood's just kept a cool head and sneaked through.
It really is a case of keeping a cool head on that corner, because you can absolutely stop the vehicle dead there, because it's such a difficult corner with it being an absolute hairpin, but with the surface change as well, trying to get the power down. And literally Danny Kerwood must have stopped his Superlight, completely, on a 1 pence piece, if you like, there to be able to turn it so tight and just nip up the inside, getting the power down.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's the old adage, isn't it? It's fast in and slow out, and that's what happened there. Gordon Knox in too fast, so came out slow. Danny Kerwood did it the other way around, slow in, fast out, got the place.
Now, interesting, 4 drivers all the way down that big long straight, which is the passing point here at Blyton, or certainly one of the main passing points, and no one actually making a move. In fact, if anything, them just moving out slightly offline to drive defensively and block the opportunities. There's a Phil Redfern at the back of this train here, putting pressure on Anthony Jackson there, and
Anthony Jackson and Phil Redfern both managing to force the issue and push their way past Gordon Knox. So again, in that same position on the track, maybe Gordon's inexperience just showing, and he's made another Horlicks of it a little bit and lost another 2 places.
It's twice that's happened to me in this race. Every time I look down at the telemetry, someone pulls the pin and goes for a pass. But Phil Redfern steaming his way through here now.
Yeah, Phil Redfern looking very, very pacey and very keen to try and get past Anthony Jackson, but to be fair, Anthony Jackson's got himself sorted out. Quick look in the mirrors from Anthony, but he looks to be more interested in trying to get himself past Danny Kerwood. There's the man Gordon Knox, nice pace down the start finish straight. You'll see Gordon's got a good quick Superlight underneath him, but just the inexperience maybe showing as he just wasn't getting his braking points right in this next part, which is the dirt section. We'll have to see what happens this time, because I think Phil Redfern's got an idea of maybe getting himself a little bit further forward.
Well, normally pretty defiant, and normally lets his way through the field, to be fair, but I've got to feel sorry, in fact, as Anthony Jackson pulls the pin and gets past Danny Kerwood there too in this train also, but then locks it up. Phil Redfern's through, taking full advantage of that, as you predicted, Luke. Absolute textbook move there, but, just goes to show exactly what I was saying, is there's a Vulcan bomber flying overhead. I mean, how many times do you see that? Great to see that thing back in flight. I know we're digressing from the racing ever so slightly, but what a fantastic view. I think coming into Robin Hood Airport, if I am not mistaken. Back with the action then. There's Tony Turner, he's in second place, and I wonder if he caught a glimpse of that.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. I wonder if any of the drivers were sort of driving down the start-finish straight, looking out the top of the Superlight going, what? Back on board with Jake Swan now, and there's no sign of that Vulcan bomber anywhere from Jake Swan's on board. He'll be relieved to know that he's not being chased down by a Vulcan bomber.
So interesting to see there. Sorry to cut you off there, Luke, is that Jake's actually coming past the back marker there. I think that was Michael Bradbury, number 100, but there was so much debris that you could see coming off his back tyres there. And it's so interesting because it's such a long way from the last part of dirt section there to see the debris flying out of the deep tread cuts, because they're all racing on wet tyres here by the looks of things to get the grip on the dirt. You know, he's gone through 4 corners there, or 3 corners certainly, from the dirt section before actually the dirt's actually getting out of the tyre treads. And that's going to cause grip problems for these guys at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could just see, talking about causing problems, that Phil Redfern looks like he's very keen on causing some problems for that man in the number 69 machine. That's Tim Page coming under the close attentions of Phil Redfern. And we've seen Phil force the issue in the past, and he's usually pretty fair in terms of his racing, but he's also very, very positive, and he will just keep pushing the issue until the checkered flag. So Tim Page has a job on his hands to keep hold of third place at the moment.
Yeah, real aggressive driving style from Phil Redfern, putting all the pressure on Tim Page. He looks left, he looks right in his wing mirrors, and trying to see where the challenge will mount. I suspect it's going to be here if Redfern can get the power down. He goes out wide though, over the rumble strips, pulls it back to the inside. Page moving across a little bit defensive line, right over the white line on the inside, but it's still the course, going out very, very wide. Phil Redfern there pulls the pin, makes the pass, and he's up yet another place, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic performance from Phil Redfern. A couple of laps there where Phil was definitely Dukes of Hazzard style in hot pursuit, but he got his man and nailed it. And now 69, Tim Page trying to go around the outside of Phil Redfern. He was very optimistic there. There was no way Phil was going to let him get away with that one. But meanwhile, the man out front in the 110 machine, that's Jake Swan. And again, Jake having it all his own way in this race, Chris.
Absolutely, and totally unlike the Dukes of Hazzard boys, trying to keep himself well out of trouble as he takes the checkered flag. A great victory then for Jake Swan for the second time today in 650 Superlight race number 2. 35 points then to Jake, ahead of Tony Turner once again claiming second place, this time with Phil Redfern battling his way through to third to take 30 points ahead of Tim Page, Anthony Jackson, Danny Kerwood, Gordon Knox, Wayne Stockbridge, Michael Bradbury and Paul Hudson, the top 10 in 650 Superlight race number 2. On we go then with the action of the Open Superlight class, race number 2. Duncan Macbeth taking his second pole position also of the afternoon today, with Phil Lee and Mark Richardson on the outside. On row 2 is James Addy with Danny Whitney and Charlie Wellborn. On row 3 is Jonathan Bennett with James Stevens and Alan Henley completing the lineup then. Just 3 rows of drivers. So that's 9 drivers in total in Open Superlight race number 2.
Here we go then on the grid with Mark Richardson and Phil Lee, and off pole position this time will be the man in the 150 machine, Duncan Macbeth, the race winner in Open Superlight race 1 of the day here at Blyton Park. Dave Dearden points the guys towards the lights. The lights go out and it's a fairly good start from everybody there. This time maybe a little bit cleaner. Phil Lee keeping his nose clean this time. He's the one who gets squeezed a little bit. Mark Richardson, good start from him. Tried to go around the outside of Duncan Macbeth for a moment, but Duncan held his line. So Mark Richardson in second place. Duncan Macbeth holds on to pole position in first, and Phil Lee in third place with that man in the number 72 machine.
And Mark gone wide and lost 2 places there is Phil Lee, and I think Jonathan Bennett squeezing through there into second and third places. So after an absolutely brilliant start from Mark, he's made that mistake on that tricky bend that we spoke about previously, and it's cost him 2 places there.
Yeah, Jonathan Bennett in the number 72 machine looking in his mirrors to see that man. Mark Richardson in the number 17 Superlight. He's been relegated from second to fourth place, and a couple of places made up by Phil Lee and Jonathan Bennett. So Duncan Macbeth still the man out front in first place at the moment. Mark Richardson in fourth, and I think Mark being chased down by number 698 James Addy. That's the top five at the moment, with Danny Whitney down in sixth, just a little bit further back.
Mark Richardson goes very wide there.
He's doing a bit of farming out there, just ploughing the field.
Oh, well, two passes there. I think James Addy there coming through as Jonathan Bennett makes the move back on Phil Lee there too.
Yeah, Jonathan Bennett moving up into second place. So we did say in race number one that Jonathan Bennett had some really good pace. He's just got to hold on to it through this dirt section because he was losing it before.
I think Phil Lee locked up there, and that cost him. In fact, actually probably blocking the line a bit from James Addy, the man behind him too.
Yeah, that's definitely given some breathing space to Jonathan Bennett actually in second place. So Jonathan will have been fairly relieved to see that there was a bit of a problem for the guys behind him. So Phil Lee in third place now, coming under the attentions of that man James Addy in fourth. And we've said James Addy has been quick all year, but he's just had a couple of issues here and there where things have not quite worked out for him. Maybe, like you've said, a little bit of experience. He's been more used to riding the Supermoto bikes, and four wheels is a little bit different, but it looks like Addy's getting a great pass on there. We've not seen too many passes at that point. Phil Lee just getting a bit of wheel spin, and James Addy sorting out the acceleration, getting the traction, and he picks up another place and moves up into third place. Mark Richardson dropping a little bit further down the field, now coming under the attentions of Danny Whitney.
Just going back to James Addy's pass, I mean, that was classic. That James being a very aggressive driver and sliding it, I suppose, driving a Superlite in the fun way, putting it sideways, and it's absolutely brilliant fun to do. But by the same token, it was Phil Lee that was perhaps a little bit aggressive, uncharacteristically really, and put it sideways, and by the fact that his wheels weren't all driving forward, James Addy pinched that place by keeping it honest coming out of the corner and just nipped straight up the inside, where, to be fair, I wouldn't have said it was a strong passing opportunity. Of course, it's a little straight to get the power down, but not a big passing place, so Addy did well to make that step.
Yeah, I think James Addy has probably been paying a little bit of attention to what Duncan Macbeth's been doing, because Duncan Macbeth's style is very, very tidy. He never is overzealous, you never see too much sort of sliding the back end and all that sort of stuff. He's very much one of those drivers who keeps the wheels in a straight line, because that means you're going forward, not sideways, and going forward is definitely faster than going sideways.
Well, this Superlite racing is, very similar in a lot of ways to rallycross. Of course, Blyton, a well-known rallycross circuit, but by the same token, it's still motor racing, and the fastest way is to keep the wheels in line, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's perhaps the only exception being the speedway, where you've got to have it sliding, and some rally events and rallycross, it's definitely a requirement to be going sideways at some points. But those guys a little bit further down the field, that's number 46 and number 52, Alan Henley and James Stevens, having a battle of their own, and we can see which one of them gets the better. Looking at each other, I think there was a nod from 52 James Stevens to say, thank you very much, sir, I just did you.
And it was a great move as well, and again that classic move down the main straight. Now Jonathan Bennett coming under the attention of James Addy. Addy going out wide, but see how honest he's keeping the Superlite, and he's having another look up the inside to see if he can make that move stick. Again, that he pulled on Phil Lee. I think Jonathan Bennett's a little bit more wise to it this time around. The last lap flag is out, but a big wing mirror full of James Addy. He moves to the left, he moves to the right. Having a look here, and it's interesting to see the flex and the carbon fibre on James Addy's roof. Now he has a look up the inside. Oh, two wheels there for James Addy. He gets a cone stuck on his Superlite 2 there as he enters the dirt section, and it all went wrong for him. He was trying on that last lap two moves that he'd done previously in the day, one down that short straight and one up the inside going into that first turn, and neither of them quite paid off for James Addy there.
Now James Addy was trying to look for the cut back there. He chucked the dummy out wide and then tried to sneak back up the inside, but Jonathan Bennett was having none of that, far too wise for that business. But a little bit of understeer there for Duncan.
Massive understeer, whoa! Very lucky.
Just saying how tidy he was, and he nearly collects a massive sequence of 3 hay bales. But I think Duncan Macbeth has done enough, kept it all in order and on the black stuff, and he'll come through to take another race win in the second Superlite race of the day in the open category.
Yeah, great race win. A slightly lucky last lap there, or certainly last bend, because clipping that hay bale could have lost him a wheel and cost him that race, but a well-earned victory nevertheless for Duncan Macbeth then in Open Superlite Race 2. 35 points to him ahead of Jonathan Bennett in second place. James Addy steals third place ahead of Phil Lee, Mark Richardson, Danny Whitney, Charlie Wellborn, James Stevens and Alan Henley, the 9 drivers in Open Superlite Race number 2. So plenty of action. It's getting very interesting here at Blyton Park this afternoon. Of course, we've seen some great race wins so far from the second race of the day for Duncan Macbeth, and that very, very lucky last lap for him. And of course, great race win for Jake Swan. Let's see how he gets on in 650 race 3 after this break.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Blyton Park. It's all going on as we move on to race 3, the final race of the day for the 650 class. Jake Swan, his third pole position of the day, with Tony Turner and Phil Redfern on the front row in this. Then on row 2 is Tim Page with Anthony Jackson and Danny Kerwood in P6. In P7 on row 3 is Gordon Knox with Wayne Stockbridge and Michael Bradbury. On row 4 is Paul Hudson, again subject to those mechanical gremlins that, to be fair, have plagued him all day. So let's hope Paul can have a better start in this one. A quick wave then from Phil Redfern. He's happy and set fair ready to go in this, Luke.
Yeah, Tony Turner second on the grid, and the man in pole position for the third race of the day, Jake Swan. Pole position in qualifying. If he can get this one in the bag, that will be pole position and 3 race wins. So that's the job done entirely. There's the start. Jake's got off the line. He's in first place into the first turn, and we've got a nice onboard from Tim Page, currently in third place behind number 84 Tony Turner in second. Jake Swan out front again in the 110 machine. Chris,
just see how much debris flying up from those tyres, and of course the drivers, feeling the roost in the driving seat here from those as well. And I can tell you, it hurts.
I can also tell you that there was probably about 2 inches between the onboard camera on the machine of Tim Page in third place there and Tony Turner in front of him in second. There's Danny Kerwood a little bit further down the field, coming under the attentions of Gordon Knox, and I think that's Phil Redfern forcing the issue again in that same point on the track. Phil Redfern getting the better of Gordon Knox again. Gordon's not got himself sorted out in that bit of the track, and I think the day's coming to an end before he's got it sussed.
Yeah, Phil Redfern absolutely been steaming his way through, in contact there with the rear wheel of Danny Kerwood there. Whether Kerwood saw the challenge from Phil Redfern, but he's just trying to hustle him out of the way. Massive understeer there for Redfern. Gordon Knox has a look at coming back at him, but is there a way through? His line very much defended there as he comes out of that second to last turn there. But Phil Redfern defiant here and looking to gain a place. Now, have we got a battle here between Tim Page and Anthony Jackson, number 69 and 41 here?
Yeah, Anthony Jackson and Tim Page battling for second place at the moment. That's Tim in the 69 machine. There's the that battle that we were seeing before. That's Phil Redfern trying to force the issue with Danny Kerwood and try and see if he can get up the inside. Some really fantastic wheel-to-reel battling here. And is Phil Redfern going around the outside? He is. Has he managed to make it stick?
Side by side, and he's gone
Danny Kerwood's coming back to him. No, Phil Redfern's made it stick. Another brilliant performance in that part of the circuit from Phil Redfern. And now he's going to disappear off into the distance.
Amazing driving, a great big power slide all the way over that transitional section that we saw Tony Turner doing a little bit earlier on. So getting the power down. Here is Tim Page there, number 69, with the attentions of number 41, Anthony Jackson, snapping at his heels as well. And some real great battling going on here at Blyton Park. Tim Page having a look in his wing mirror, filled by Anthony Jackson behind him. Now will he throw him the dummy and try and go wide and then cut back to the inside? Jackson has a look in his wing mirror. It looks more like he's looking for the defence rather than the attack here to get past Tim Page. I wonder if he feels like he's got the pace. Now understeer from Tim Page, and I wondered if that was going to give Anthony the chance to get through here. It hasn't done so far though, Luke.
Yeah, Tim Page looked very, very nervous coming down that start-finish straight. He was looking in his mirrors, not where he was going. He was looking in his mirrors. That's the reason why.
Through.
Yeah, Tim Page made that mistake again in that section of the track, the dirt section. You could just see that he was really feeling the pressure from the man behind him, Anthony Jackson, and Jackson's just forced the issue, kept it clean. The mistakes come, and Anthony Jackson pounces and picks up third place.
You just see the dust on the onboard camera now, picking up all that debris there. You can really see that blue groove emerging on that top dirt section. No water been put down by the looks of things, so it's a little bit dusty, but probably best, because we discussed about whether that was just going to create more understeer by doing that in the end, actually. And of course, the blue groove in itself, being comprised of rubber, just turns into marbles when you add water to it as well. So probably wise to move.
Yeah, I think if it had watered that section, it would have just turned into a sort of a muddy skating rink.
And probably thrown a little bit more action our way, but it's certainly been enough of that. There's Jake Swan then, out in front, and I think he's just passed the back marker. That's Michael Bradbury again for the third time today. He's managed to do that now. Over the ski jump he goes, and Jake just completely composed, putting that round at Finmere well behind him, where he didn't have probably as much success as I think he would have liked, and really getting hustled in that round, to be fair, and really making amends for that today here at Blyton. Some absolute brilliant driving from him, and just looks so composed and calm out in front, doesn't he?
Yeah, Jake Swan looking like the man that we've seen earlier in the season. Very, very comfortable in the lead, on the pace, driving his own race, and there's the last lap flag, and barring mechanical difficulties or divine intervention, I think Jake Swan is going to make it 3 out of 3 here at Blyton Park today.
Well, as you're a commentator, don't curse him. But here's Danny Kerwood then coming under the attentions of Gordon Knox, the man behind him. And we've seen these two locked in battle all afternoon, actually. Gordon Knox still giving chase, and great to see him up there.
Yeah, sorry, I just threw you a look that confused you slightly. I had the phrase opportunity knocks into my head and had to stop myself saying it. But I've said it anyway now, just to stop me from looking confused.
Well, yeah, Gordon suffering a school of hard knocks, because Danny Kerwood's managed to get the measure over him all afternoon too. Well, we're going puntastic on it, but Jake Swan out in front, half a lap to go then, and looks like he's going to take this one, I reckon, mate.
Yeah, Jake Swan looking very, very comfortable. As we've said, I think you could see in Jake's eyes on the grid in the first race of the day, after doing a great job in qualifying, he really, really wanted to put a marker down after having a bit of a nightmare at Finmere, and now Jake Swan comes to take his final win of the day in the final race of the day. 3 out of 3 for Jake Swan in the 650 Superlites.
Well, Phil Redfern having a real challenge with Tim Page right to the line there, and I thought he was going to steam it right round the outside. Didn't quite pay off. But some real excitement to the finish there. Jake Swan taking the win, making the journey from the Kent coast. Well worth it then up to Blyton Park this afternoon, taking 3 wins out of 3 ahead of Tony Turner in Superlight Race 3 and Anthony Jackson 2 in 3rd. Then Tim Page, Phil Redfern, Danny Kerwood, Gordon Knox, Wayne Stockbridge and Michael Bradbury, the 9 drivers in 650 Superlight Race 3. So well done to all the drivers concerned.
Tony, how have you found the day's racing?
Yeah, good day's racing. Really nice track, really enjoyed the weekend. Nice fast and flowing, tight and twisty in places. Had a good day coming back from a 3rd overall from Finmere. I was hoping to do a little bit better today, obviously 2nd or 1st, and I think I've had a 2nd overall. 3 seconds, really chuffed to bits for that. Jake Swan was flying, couldn't keep up with him. But I think it was all about tyre choice and the starts. I kept out of trouble and just tucked in behind Jake and took 3 seconds. I had Anthony Jackson and Phil Redfern behind me, giving me a bit of a nudge here and there, trying to get past, but I kept it nice and tight, so that was the main thing, and good result.
What is it about this track that you like so much?
The tarmac is just beautiful here. The whole track is just a very nice track, and it suits me down to the ground. I'm very happy here and just get on with it, and it's lovely.
I find it really interesting that yourself and Tony, who was in 2nd, have a completely different tyre setup. He's got the slicks on the rear, you've gone for the full wets. Tell me about that. What made you go for that decision?
We took them out yesterday, and it just sort of potluck for trying them because they were on the car when we got here, and it flew. And it's Black Magic tyres. I've got no idea, but they just work, and I stuck with it, and they just work really, really well.
So let's take a quick look at the 650 standings then. Anthony Jackson still the man who leads the championship with 359 to Jake Swan, fighting back with 348 ahead of Tony Turner with 331, not far behind Phil Redfern in 4th place too. But some great driving this afternoon, and Jake Swan doing enough to really fight back and still, as I said earlier, put one hand on the trophy, but he's got to beat Anthony Jackson for it. The top man today, Jake Swan, joined us again for the open action after the break.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com. The the British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.
Welcome back to Blyton Park. We've seen some great racing this afternoon. Duncan Macbeth sets himself up for his third pole position race of the afternoon. The final race in Open Superlight Race 3. Jonathan Bennett and James Addy start alongside him on the front row. On row 2 is Phil Lee with Mark Richardson and Danny Whitney. On row 3 is Charlie Wellborn with James Stevens and Alan Henley.
So the drivers on the grid for the final Open Superlight race of the day there. The lights go out and the drivers get off the grid. That's a good start again from the man in the 72 machine. That's Jonathan Bennett, but this time he gets to the front and gets the better of Duncan Macbeth, and Duncan Macbeth finds himself in second place and could risk losing the option for the 3 out of 3 race wins here today, Chris.
Well,
he's gone very wide as well there.
He has gone very, very wide actually, and having a look around the outside of Jonathan Bennett, but that is basically no man's land here at Blyton. And Phil Lee pops it up the inside. No surprise to me there, to be fair. James Addy too having a look, but not quite able to do it. So work to do, and Mark Stevens going very, very wide there too. Don't think it cost him a place, but I'm sure he'll learn the lesson the hard way and maybe look to correct that on his next time around. In fact, yeah, the rest of the drivers just coming through there actually. Just looking at number 74, that's Charlie Wellborn ahead of Danny Whitney here.
Yeah, Mark Richardson at the back in that yellow Superlight. All sorts of problems for Mark Richardson. Not quite sure what he was doing, but he picked up a very large berm on the outside of the track, which didn't allow him to go very fast or very forward.
No, it didn't, and that's what I just paused to have a look at actually, just to see the gap behind him. There are some drivers actually still behind him, but the battle really on Danny Whitby, putting the challenge on Charlie Wellborn here as they come down this main straight. Pops it up the inside, and does he make it stick? He just about gets the wheels ahead and moves back into the line then of
it was very tight actually for Danny Whitby, wasn't it? He was off the circuit on the inside tarmac and outside of the white line, which is the new tarmac that's been laid here at Blyton Park. But that man there, 150, Duncan Macbeth finding himself in the very unfamiliar position of actually following somebody around Blyton Park today.
Yeah, and he's been a class act all afternoon, but Jonathan Bennett, you know, I said earlier, he's really got a lot of pace today. He's made a couple of mistakes that have cost him some big points. He just needs to keep it together really, and perhaps drive a bit defensively, because he can control the race now, but he's absolutely rinsing it. He's really going for it and proving to everyone that he's more than capable of winning not just a race, but possibly a real contender for the British Championship. Now going wide.
Got the drive there, Chris. Definitely got the drive. You can see him
and
setting that
contact
out.
there for number 74, Charlie Wellborn. He's had to make a quick excursion into Scunthorpe, I think, there.
He's definitely gone on a detour to get out of the way of Mark Richardson, who was steaming through from behind there. Last of the late breakers, Mark Richardson, and I would imagine that the Charlie Wellborn was thinking, ooh, that was rather rude.
Yes, well, we're briefly on board with James Addy there, and he's got his attention set on Phil Lee, and this could be a colossal battle between these two. Phil Lee, if I'm honest, this season looks to be driving a lot more aggressively than I've seen him driving in the past. He has been so calm and composed, and I think with him not being able to lead and control the championship a little bit this year as he has done previously, I think maybe, he's just, the frustration's coming out and he's driving a little bit, and probably Addy and Phil Lee driving very, very similar styles. Now the pressure really mounting on Jonathan Bennett here from Duncan Macbeth here still.
Yeah, Duncan Macbeth, as we said, he's got so much pace that he's been running all day as he comes out of the squiggly section onto that big, long start-finish straight, and he wasn't able to carry the speed through because there was somebody else's Superlight in the way, and that just really balked him, and now he's got to try and do it the hard way. But a fantastic move there. Again, we got the slow in, fast out. Duncan Macbeth, brilliant move. And I was just going to say a little bit earlier that he looked like he was just sitting there stalking the man in front of him, Jonathan Bennett, and in the end he's had it, but he's had... Somebody was definitely running wide, but that was on board with James Addy as Phil Lee ran wide. We were preoccupied with a brilliant move from Duncan Macbeth, but again, Duncan, a little bit too much pace into the corner, managed to sort it out and missed those bails that time though.
Well, I wonder if he was doing that deliberately to keep off the blue groove. Maybe he's finding that's not working for him. I can't see why, but he's certainly looking to power his way around the dirt on the outside. 1 lap left to go, and Duncan Macbeth sets himself back up as the race leader in this. The dust are flying in the background. I'm not sure. There we go. There's Mark Richardson there has spun it full 360 to get himself back on circuit. That's at the top end of the circuit, so he rejoins. I don't think it will cost him a place, but we didn't see by the time we cut into him.
No, that was definitely Mark Richardson just carrying too much speed as he entered the second dirt section and ran on. Was fortunate not to have a bigger problem that stopped him rejoining. He must have bailed out of it somehow. But Duncan Macbeth is on the last lap and he's going over the jump, the ski jump. Jonathan Bennett in second place now. Disappointed, I would imagine. He really thought that he was in with a shout of getting his first race win, and not to be, unfortunately. And that man, Duncan Macbeth, has done some disappearing off into the distance, but now he's got the backmarker Alan Henley in the number 46 Superlight to contend with. Alan will briefly possibly see the checkered flag and think that his life's changed, but not yet.
Yeah, well, a great victory then for Duncan Macbeth, a well-earned victory and a great pass too. And Jonathan Bennett's probably going to be pretty annoyed with himself for allowing that. I think the phrase I said earlier in the race was control, and he just went a little bit hot and a bit deep, and that cost him. But Duncan Macbeth, the winner of Open Superlight Race 3, 35 points to him, ahead of Jonathan Bennett in second place. James Addy taking third ahead of Phil Lee, Danny Whitney, Mark Richardson, Alan Henley, James Stevens and Charlie Wellborn, the 9 drivers. Let's get down to paddock for reaction then with Vicky Monk.
James, we've been struggling to catch up with you since you've been racing Superlights, and I'll be honest, I didn't even expect to see you here today.
Yeah, I didn't think I would be after the last meeting, but it's one of them things. I'd rather be here doing something than being at home doing nothing.
How are you feeling after that? Tell us what happened again.
I don't know, I just went over the jump. Next thing I know, I was dragged into the trees and it hurts, that's all I know. So I did decide to pack in, because obviously time I've had off with my wrist packing in the Supermoto, and then hurt it again doing that. I thought I was invincible.
Well, you got to learn you don't bounce, but you were still out racing anyway. How is the wrist?
It's all right, as long as I don't clip anything with the front wheel. I did it in that race and that hurt, and I did it in the race before trying to make a pass for second place, and that hurt, but I'll just get through it.
I think you've got to have a fine line of aggression. You've got to have a good balance and just keeping it smooth. And I was running full wet, so I was also conscious of not overheating them. You can really easily overheat them on this, so I was real nice and neat, not trying to spin up the wheels. It's a lot of fun spinning up the wheels and going sideways everywhere, but it's not quick. And just keep it neat and tidy, and the tyres still look good at the end of the day.
So Duncan Macbeth is the man who leads the British Championship in the open class, 369 points to Mark Richardson's 351, just 6 points behind is Phil Lee. But don't forget about Danny Whitney, still there and thereabouts in 4th. But some great driving today from Duncan Macbeth. 3 wins out of 3 for him, including an awesome race 3 today. He takes the top step and leads the British Open Championship. That's it from us here today. We'll see you next time.
The British Superlite Championship, sponsored by wanttoliveafloat.com.